Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing the new Double Down seasonal event, which is an alternate game in which every card in our deck gets duplicated, and then whenever we play a unit, we'll play a random unit with the same provision cost from our deck. That opens up some amazing combos, including with some new cards. So let's go take a look at the deck. So today we'll be playing a Skelllige Rage of the Sea deck that focuses on getting a bunch of Rain and Storm on the board to deal tons of damage, and then also puts the Messenger of the Sea on the board to get tons of boosts from all that weather damage. We'll use Melusine for tons of that Rain, especially if you put a Cultist next to her, and we have a few of those with things like Hermit and the Drummond Berserker, so that way you can use Melusine's order to give you additional Rain every turn. And if you put Rain on both rows, then you'll summon out a whole bunch of Anglerfish from your deck, which gives you good tempo and also a lot of thinning to help improve your consistency. Just be mindful not to play this Sea Serpent, which is our other 5 provision cost card, until you get all those Anglerfish out from your deck, otherwise you potentially get one of those out early. This is a card you want to play a little bit later in the round anyway. Once you have some of that Rain going, you could also throw in little Havfrue for more of that, or Kelpie for even more Rain. Then you break out the Messenger of the Sea, and this is the thing that gets ridiculous boosts from all that damage. Then usually I like to save it for round 3, but you could use Fulmar to convert that Rain into Storm, which gives you way more damage and therefore way more boosts on those Messengers of the Sea. But you have also the Kraken, which can give you an additional source of Storm. So this not only deals damage, it moves some of your opponent's cards, can potentially help you if they have some row locked stuff, and applies several turns of Storm. So if they have a crowded row, this is going to deal a ton of damage. Since this is your only 13 provision cost unit, you have 2 Krakens and 1 turn, which immediately floods both rows, which is just insane. Then if you destroy this, it comes back to your side of the board, and you can get a pretty big boost from that as well. Then we also have Fucusya to help bring back some of our key cards from our graveyard. Most of the time, you'll be looking at either Melusine if it got a bunch of base power increases, then that might be a good tempo play, or alternatively, you could bring back the Messenger of the Sea to give you another engine. Similarly, we can also use Freya's Blessing to give us a Messenger of the Sea out from our graveyard, or maybe one of your other bronzes in some niche circumstances. But that's really all there is to it. It is get a whole bunch of weather on the board, get Messengers of the Sea to get tons of boosts so that you're out damaging and out boosting your opponent. So let's go see it in action. All right, so going up against monsters here, and they'll go first. Okay, so I do see the Earner's Shadows, which makes me curious as to whether they're going to do some Arrakis Queen shenanigans here, so having a Squirrel to discard some things from the graveyard, that might be helpful. So maybe we keep one of those. We probably want to get rid of Rioghan. One of them starts in our graveyard, the other one does not, so he's pretty much just a throwaway here. But we do like seeing Melusine. That's definitely a card we'd like to build around in this round. Oh, okay, I did not realize we also had an Anglerfish. Okay, so this is exactly what I was expecting to see. This is exactly what I was expecting to see. They are going to have to consume you, but they'll do this. Okay, so oof. Not sure that was the most efficient way to do that, but yes, the objective was to create a bunch of additional Weavis incantations. They may be looking to bring this Arrakis Queen and this Weavis incantation back out. So I think for that reason, play the Squirrel now, and we might even want to see if we can get another Squirrel out from our deck here. I think Arrakis Queen technically has more potential to give additional Weavises, but let's make sure with the double Squirrel, they can't get either of those cards back out. Okay, they will definitely trigger a whole bunch of Deathwishes here. The double Brewis Ritual, which is going to make it pretty tough for us to do anything to catch them in this round, because that's just amazing value. But obviously this would be far, far worse if they had even more of these Weavises that they would have been able to create. So good thing that we at least shut that down. But maybe what we do here is we start building up some base power on Melusine so we can bring her back in a later round. And suddenly we have some carryover potential of sorts. I mean, they may still be able to get a couple of these out in the future, but we shall see. Okay, for the moment, I think we'll just go here. Might still try to get the Rain on both rows to get the other Anglerfish out, and we'll just mulligan this back into our deck in a future round. Because having 1 in hand probably is still not a reason not to go for Rain here. Obviously, the longer the round goes, the more they're likely to pull away from us. They're getting some pretty serious thinning here as well. And what I'm wondering now is, are they going to break out a Dagon at some point? Or is it mostly just bronze Deathwish cards? So let's put you right in the middle here, because you are a cultist, as are you. So now we can repeat the order abilities. And this is mostly, in many ways, just for us to get some thinning. will be difficult for us to catch them, and they might even look to pass relatively soon here. If they do, we could break out Messenger of the Sea, and that might give us just enough tempo that we could still catch them. Okay, they'll go Siren. So remember, all these Deathwishes are triggering multiple times, twice per turn if possible, from these Weavises. So this is the minimum length we'd be willing to go in this round. We might still want to pass. This is a pretty huge lead. They are running out of board space. And if we had a way to turn this into Storm, then suddenly we'd get pretty amazing value on the Messengers of the Sea, but we don't have that. So I think we might need to cut this relatively short. I mean, we could still potentially benefit from having this round go a little bit longer and increasing Melusine's base power and bring her back out with something like Fucusya in round 2 or round 3, but that might not be reason enough to push any further here, because if we do, then we could get ourselves in a lot of trouble, I think. So they'll pass, they'll win round 1. Okay, and they did play one more card than us. They at least have 2 throwaways, and, I feel like they're probably still going to try to push a bit here. Let's make sure we at least put you back into our deck. Freya's Blessing would be a really useful thing to use with Messenger of the Sea, but we hadn't played any of those yet, so it's not a big deal. Although, you're neutral, right? So we can't get you out with it. Yeah, I mean, that'd be kind of interesting if we could do that to get rid of the other Weavises. I think we'll dump a Sea Serpent. Okay. So I just want to know how aggressively they're going to push here. Fiend is good tempo. So that might be all they're looking for here. It's just to put up a bunch of points relatively quickly and still pass on the early side. So I think what we should do is we should probably go a little Havfrue here, and that gives us some rain potential in case we do need to play Messenger of the Sea, which gives us more long-term potential if they do try to push further. And then it also gives us more targets for Freya's Blessing in round 3 if necessary. And it is Dagon. Okay, so clearly they mean business. In that case, they would not play Dagon if they were going to take this round easy. They will actually immediately consume that one with the Giant Totem. Not sure they intended to do that. They might have just absentmindedly put one Dagon in each row. So the longer this stays on the board, the more problematic it becomes. We would love to be able to get rid of this before it reaches that timer 5 ability. So I think we might even need to break out the Kraken. Hit you a few times. Try not to hit the Deathwish cards if we can avoid it. So now what we're at least doing here is we're putting some pressure on them to have to consume or do something with Dagon earlier than they would have liked. Technically, the rain alone is not enough to destroy Dagon here. Now, next turn, we can drop Messengers of the Sea and get some pretty huge value on them. Yeah, they're going to have to use some leader ability charges to boost that stuff up. Okay, so now we go Messenger of the Sea, and since they put so many units out there, this should be pretty solid value. We actually don't want to use these order abilities at the moment, because that would override Storm, which is much more valuable than Rain would be at the moment. So let's do this. And let's do this. Technically, this is going to eventually put Rain on this row, so if possible, we'd kind of like to load up more in the range row, but I think we'd like to keep our 2 big Messengers of the Sea on separate rows anyway. Okay, Slono Harpy, this is not for Dagon. Is this one for Dagon? I mean, I imagine they might be confident enough at this point to try to wait this out, and it's going to be pretty difficult for us to remove that at this stage. Don't really have a great answer for it anymore. I guess we'll go Raging Bear here. And, yeah, that is going to get one of you out. Well, that does give us some damage, which is not quite enough yet. But, yeah, if we go this Sea Serpent, you're still going to be just barely going to reach timer 5. Yeah, I forgot about the damage there. That might have been enough if we'd gone Sea Serpent and gotten lucky with a Sea Serpent out from our deck to get rid of you before you reach timer number 5. Abaya is going to trigger that 1 turn early, I think. Yeah. Okay, so that... I suppose we applied some pressure on them They were concerned that we were going to destroy Dagon before they could use Abaya, so they got, I mean, it's timer 5 is a huge deal. Significantly less value. But now I think we probably do still destroy you. I mean, it puts a copy in their hand. They theoretically do have another Abaya in their deck somewhere. They've already used some Weavises. Have they used both of their Arrakis Queens? They might still have an Arrakis Queen. I don't remember. So I think it might be worth doing that just to get rid of you. I know... Yes, it's going to put a copy in their hand, but I think we had to accept that possibility. Now we'll do this. Have to get some rain going otherwise. Oh, we destroyed the other guy anyway, so it's not a huge concern after all. I'd like to get rid of these Krakens now at this point, but they've replayed the Dagon, understandably. They theoretically have just enough time, I think, for him to reach timer 5. But what we could do here, we could go Freya's Blessing into this Sea Serpent, which we can use to get some damage on you, and then we hope that we get another Sea Serpent out from our deck. And that's another 3 damage. You drop to 2. You have a little bit of rain in that row that may or may... I mean, it's not going to be enough to destroy you on this turn, but possibly on our next turn. Get the Berserker out in a future turn. Maybe that could work. So I think we take our chances on that. Okay, because there is another one. Okay, Dagon does not get hit that time around. Succubus. And Harpy Egg. Okay, yeah, and they did have a Succubus in their graveyard already. So we do want to get you out early. Technically, this plus rain, if you both happen to hit Dagon, could remove on this turn. Otherwise, Rite of the Sea. Can we get enough for Freya's Blessing? Even if we could, would that make a huge difference? Not really. Would need it to give us another Sea Serpent for that to be meaningful. So we kind of want one of these to get destroyed, tell you the truth. So what we might do, tell you what, is get the Melusines out, which I didn't want to have to do here. Not necessarily sure we have a choice, though. And I think we do still need to this. Technically, we're missing out on a little bit of value, so we're not going to get the Deafening Siren spawned in here, but did need to go range row with the Melusines, or at least one of them, because I want to get rid of the Sea Serpent. Okay, Solano Harpy. I mean, for what it's worth, we do have more points than them right now. We did, of course, use a combo that we were very much trying to save for round 3 with the Fucusyas and Melusines, and what with that rain, that is, or rather a storm now, that's a pretty painful setup for us to go in that range row. If we go Bride of the Sea, we would technically like to do a little bit of rain first. I guess it doesn't matter too much, but then we go Freya's Blessing, we could get a Sea Serpent out here. Do we have any other 5 provision cost cards in our deck still? We do have another Sea Serpent. So yeah, I think we can justify that. Let's go here. Let's go Bride of the Sea. We'll put you next to one of the Melusines so that you can reuse that ability. Use this to get you. Do this to hit you. And this. Guess we'll get you out. Oh, true. Technically, you were the other, you're the first unit that we played, so we got the other Bride of the Sea out rather than the second Sea Serpent. But still, decent value here. We are going to take a fair bit of damage from that storm. Their board is full. Do they have more ways to consume here? Or are they going to be a little bit trapped? They are. Okay, so even after taking the damage, we're still in the lead here. The question is, do we still have enough left to get the job done in round 3? Because we've used a lot of our setup here. But so have they. Okay, so we do still have a Messenger of the Sea. This should be our only 2/6 provision cost card, so technically we should mulligan one of them out because we're guaranteed to get the other. And that Sea Serpent, I think we also want to mulligan because that, I believe, is our only 5 provision cost card we have left. So we're not going to get an extra card when we play that. And we get Fulmar. That was definitely one of our biggest cards we had left, and that is a good way to set up the Messenger of the Sea. Freya's Blessing, what's that going to be for? Probably additional Messengers of the Sea? Although we could use just some more rain here, plain and simple. So possibly even Havfrue. Let's go for the Hermit first, because we don't have anything to apply the rain to at the moment anyway. I don't know if this is going to be a factor, but maybe we can shut down I mean, the biggest concern would probably be you, although you're too big for a renew. So I guess maybe Fiend, to tell you the truth. The only thing that could actually get back there. Okay, Manticore. We haven't played anything critically important yet. So, you know, if the Squirrel or the Hermit are lowest cards, then it's not a huge deal. And with Leader ability and Fulmar, we should be able to get some little Deafening Sirens on the board, which should be the targets of the Imperial Manticores. Now, if they have multiple ways to trigger the Deathwishes, then that could become an issue, but hopefully we've done enough to weather the storm of their additional Deathwish triggering that shouldn't be too much of a concern. But I do think we want to get the Messengers of the Sea on the board right about now. So they are engines, so they do need time to do their thing. And let's put them, yes, in opposite rows. We'll do this. So they're starting to get boosted. You'll both get hit, which means you shouldn't be the lowest cards. Okay, it is still one Abaya, but we've already seen their other Abaya, so that's why having a weak card on the board is a good workaround there. Now they have 2 cards in this row, which is useful for setting up more rain, although Fulmar, I mean, we'd kind of like to stack one row in particular and use that to convert into Storm. So is it Fulmar first, or is it Freya's Blessing into presumably Messenger of the Sea? Could be Little Havfrue just for additional rain, because we are a little bit short on that. I think it might even be that, to tell you the truth. But let's do this. You're still not the lowest card, so that's good. Oh, true. Okay, technically, we don't get to play another one out from our graveyard. And we still had some leftover rain there, so that still gives you a little bit of a boost. So yeah, it'll be Fulmar next, and we'll probably finish with the Berserker, and, you know, so be it if we don't get great value out of that. Get another 4 provision cost card out from our deck, and not entirely sure who that's going to be, but okay, this is going to lose Squirrel. That's not a problem. Played around that, and then we should, even if you consume that, be able to get something smaller on the board after using Fulmar here as well. Let's do this, and we'll get double Fulmar, in fact. So, yeah, I guess we'll go 1 in each row. It's probably best. Okay, it's Olgierd. Sure, he won't take damage. So he's a bit of a point slam, and he does counter the rain to a certain extent. But I think we're still looking okay here. So we'll now, I mean, I guess, sure, we'll see what we get here. But it's probably either another Berserker or a Havfrue that's not going to have time to do much. So yeah, there's something to be said for trying to get this a little bit earlier to get a little more rain from the Havfrue, but we got the Messengers of the Sea out instead. So let's do this. And let's do this. And I think we're looking pretty good here. Their finisher is Triss Meteor Shower. They're going to go melee row for damage. If they have a couple of those, that will add up. But I don't think it will be enough. So we'll hold on for the win. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here. And we'll go first. Okay, so one of our Rioghans does start in our graveyard. The other one, however, does not. So this one, not very useful. We should get rid of him. Other than that, we have some a lot of Havfrues for rain. And then Messenger of the Sea is certainly a good engine for us. And Melusine can help set up all those cards. We have a ton of rain. Okay, so, I mean, honestly, this might be more than we realistically need. Having a Cultist, oh, we already had a Cultist put next to Melusine, but okay. Fulmar, we'd probably like to save for round 3 if we can. Let's still try mulliganing one of you out. Oh, okay, we'll end up where we started. Fair enough. We do have Cursed Scroll, because we are on blue coin here. So, we'll see if there's anything else we can do to improve our situation. But maybe we go with Little Havfrue first. We have so many in hand that, yeah, I imagine we're going to get something else, that 4 provision, out from our deck. Okay, it's Fangs the Empire. I'm going to go double to remove, I assume, this Little Havfrue. Fair enough. We obviously have plenty more where that came from, so we might just do that. So we were kind of hoping we'd get the Havfrue out to give ourselves some early rain. Could also play Melusine here. Obviously, she has the Veil, so that's not bad. We do have a Cultist, so that does help us sustain the Melusine orders. You know what? Yeah, there's something to be said for getting higher base power on her. Of course, this is a card that they have other forms of removal. They would probably very much like to use those on her. And this is Nilfgaard, so we'll see what they have in mind there. Okay, more poison it seems like. That is one of the reasons why... Oh, no, they're going for the purification. Okay, I was going to say. It's one of the reasons why I kind of liked Melusine was that Veil could potentially cause them some issues. Or very early leader ability here. I would argue that's pretty overly aggressive. I mean, sure, Kraken is, well, a card you would have liked to have saved until we had more cards on the board, but you can still move everything into that melee row. Might be right around time for us to break out the Messengers of the Sea. Because we're about to get at least decent rain out here. Obviously, they only have units in one row, which is a little bit unfortunate. But maybe we do this. And don't love having them right next to each other against Nilfgaard. And they definitely have some ways they can mess with us for having done that, but we'll see. And then these also are going to take some damage from the storm, which could be a bit of an issue. Let's use the Cursed Scroll here, so that way we actually have a unit next to Melusine. Granted, it's a Kraken that we don't really want to get damaged. But let's put Fucusya into our hand, and maybe we'll get rid of one of the little Havfrues. Okay, Hermit Hunter, yeah, so they purified Melusine. Presumably that was because they wanted to do something with statuses to her afterward. Just a question of, was it going to be lock or was it going to be poison? Apparently it's lock, so that means we no longer have good way to sustain our reign unless we do play one of those Havfrues. And why don't we put that in the middle of the Messengers of the Sea? Would have wanted to put you next to the Melusines to help sustain those order abilities, but that's not really a concern anymore. So why don't we put you here? Technically speaking, if we put rain on this row, I know there's no units there at the moment to hit with rain, but it would get out all of our Anglerfish, which is nice for thinning purposes and for tempo as well. So that is kind of tempting. Maybe we wait one more turn before we look to do that, though. Okay, Moral. We'll poison, and okay, Vilgefort's really annoying card. But hey, there you go, that's karma for you. Taking a dice roll, not knowing what risks you were taking, getting rid of one of the Messengers of the Sea. Well, congratulations, you just got another one out there. So now they do have units in both rows, although I am a little bit tempted, a little late in the round, to be breaking out the Kraken in round one when they could just pass their way around it. But that is a way to move Moral into the other row, which would be pretty useful. Otherwise, we use little Havfrue here in the melee row, and we do get the rain on both rows. We get out all the Anglerfish, which is, as I was saying, very good for tempo. Yeah, I don't feel great about it, but let's do it. So first I'm going to move some of you guys over here. And I'm going to basically end up overriding our rain here, mostly to move Moral. Maybe we can get rid of Cupbearer, who is an engine. Here come the Anglerfish. Yeah, now we technically don't want to use this little Havfrue order ability unless and until this rain runs out, or the storm runs out. Okay, Devil's Puffball is a creative way to get some extra poison there. So I think we need to be a little bit careful here because they could, say, if they went Double Fangs the Empire, get almost 30 points of removal. More than that by the time all this activates. So that is a little scary. Maybe what we do here is we use Sea Serpents and weaken these Krakens, and at that point they're pretty close to going down. We could hit the same one twice and it would go down. Technically, there's 2 turns worth of storm here, though, so we're probably okay. As long as this round goes a little bit longer to have the storm finish the Krakens off for us. Okay, yep, and I was thinking that teleportation might have been a way that they'd get the Fangs of the Empire out here, but I think we're still okay with that. They only get 1 removal from it. We'll probably try to lock the other one, but at this point it's already pretty highly boosted. And their problem is that they're not going to have very many points here. After this storm takes effect, they're going to lose almost all their units, and we're going to get these Kraken back on our side of the board for pretty big value. So I think we do pass here. That does technically mean the Anglerfish are going to go back into our deck, which on one hand means we're losing points in this round. On the other hand means we can potentially get them out in a later round as well. I think that still works out for us, though. Once we lose these points, yes, but we gain several more points from that. So I think we can still pass here relatively safely, but hard to know definitively where the point totals are going to end up when everything is said and done. Because these do come back. Pretty huge value. And we'll win round 1. All right, so now our plan is probably to bring out a Messenger of the Sea from our graveyard as a key engine for round 3, and maybe a Melusine as well. With Fucusya, we do have a Fucusya. Let's see, they might have locks. Some Mahakam Ale, they've certainly used some thus far. Some Mahakam Ale is not a terrible idea, especially if our board gets full towards the end of the round. I think Squirrel is probably weakest card here. And we'll dump Hermit, because we might not have much Melusine action going on here. Okay, we are on even cards, so technically we could push, if we really wanted to, use Squirrel to banish, I don't know, something from their graveyard, but especially against Nilfgaard, I don't love using Squirrel, because they have the potential to replay that, and then they can banish things like a Melusine, a Messenger of the Sea, and that's probably not something we want to tempt them to do. So, more likely, we might consider little Havfrue, maybe our best point slam here, especially if we get another one out from our deck, which case would be 8 base power, but we still run the risk of getting a random Squirrel as well. So I think we just pass here, and in doing so, they do need to play, so that will force them to go a card down for round 3. Their throwaway is more poison with the Cobra, and Fangs the Empire. Okay, so definitely some recurring themes here. They are absolutely a status deck. Wonder if we're going to see Philippe. Have to imagine we might. Alright, so they'll win round 2. Alright, we draw into Kelpie, which gives us really solid rain, especially because this is our only 9 provision cost unit, so we'll get the other one out from our deck, and then we can get 5 turns of rain on both rows, and then turn that into Storm with Fulmar, and we've basically full round with the Storm in both rows, so that's pretty awesome. Sea Serpents, we played some before. Do we have enough 5 provision cost cards in our deck? We do not. So we were already guaranteed to get this one. Let's mulligan it out. A lot of 4 provision cost cards all of a sudden means a lot of Squirrels, which I'm not really sure is going to benefit us all that much. We risk here drawing into a card that we are already going to get the extra copy of. We don't, but don't get anything much better. Okay, it's Masquerade Ball also. Obviously a very status-oriented card. So let's see. Just taking stock of what else we have. So Fucusya, is it going to be to get back Melusine, or is it going to be to get back a Messenger of the Sea? Because we did not get any Freya's Blessings, is kind of the big, or Sigrdrifa's Rites, kind of the big omissions here, which is assuming we'd have a little more ability to get stuff out from our graveyard. Could even just use this to get Rioghan and just go pure damage rather than boosting. That might honestly be best, given how they're going for removal with statuses. This is probably going to be a pretty low-scoring round, I would think. Let's start off with the Havfrue. Start getting some rain with that. I'm a little nervous about getting the Squirrel out this early, when there is some potential for them to use something like a Duchess's Informant to replay it. We have enough potential targets with Fucusya that maybe that's okay. All right, but if you're turning into a spy spammer, then I've immediately lost all respect for you. Because we went years with a spy bug. Eventually, I convinced CDPR to get it fixed. And as soon as it happens, people find another way to ruin this event with spies. To the point where once what was my favorite event in the entire game is now one of, if not my least favorite. So guys, if you're playing spies, stop. Because this is why we can't have nice things. While we're at it though, why don't we use Hermit? We can potentially destroy that. Because that'd be really useful. Be convenient. Yeah, we technically don't have 2 units in either row, so the little Havfrue doesn't have a great way to use that order ability. I kind of want to double check what they destroyed with the Squirrel here. But let's see what they're going. Glynis, okay, that's a big engine. Okay, it's more spies. All right. Guys. I was giving you a chance. Oh my god. Okay. This is what I mean. Guys. You're not clever. You've just lost any sense of respect, whatever you want to call it. There used to be a common decency from one Gwent player to another when we wouldn't do this nonsense to each other. I just want to play Gwent, but apparently that's not allowed. Okay, so now I guess we'll use the Havfrue and maybe we'll break out Kelpie, because at this point we are pretty much guaranteed to almost entirely get enough weather effects to last this entire round. Okay, it's Hoakim, it's more spy spam. Okay, so what we need to do against spy spam like this is we need to prioritize getting our most important cards out as early as possible. So we're going to need to go Fucusya and either Melusine or Messenger of the Sea, whichever cards we still have remaining, because otherwise we're going to run out of board space, because that's their entire strategy, is to flood our entire side of the board and make it impossible for us to play. I wasn't exaggerating. Their entire strategy is to prevent us from playing Gwent. And call me crazy, but I think that's a problem. Call me crazy, but if everyone is trying to do that, then I think we should never have this event again, because clearly we could not be trusted with this responsibility. We failed, and I'm so disappointed in us for having done this. But as I said, we need to go Fucusya here, and it's probably going to need to be... I think it's going to have to be Messenger of the Sea here. And we are running out of board space, as you can see. I mean, that is one upside of Melusine, is that at least in that case, we can do some self-damage. And in doing so, we can then create a little bit of board space, put a Melusine next to Duchess's Informant, for example. So really want to squeeze in a Fulmar here, but they're going to do everything they can to prevent us from doing that. We'll have one spot on the board for it. Honestly, if you want to remove with poison, I'm all for it at this stage. At this point, I'm all for it. Okay, so now we do need to fill in. We need to use Fulmar. We're only going to have room for one of them. We would be guaranteed to get our other Fulmar out from our deck, but we can't do that anymore because they've filled our row. Do this. And sure, we'll do that. The other Fulmar gets discarded. If they try to lock either... Mostly if they try to lock this Fulmar is probably what we'd prioritize from Mahakam Ale. And they might try to lock this Messenger of the Sea. We'll see if that ends up happening. Some Morale for more poison. Okay, they're destroying this. Means we actually will have some board space. Now they're going to do this to Fulmar, aren't they? Now it's the other Messenger of the Sea. Well, congratulations. You played yourself. Now we have at least one board space. What is the most valuable card for us to play? Oh, and they'll forfeit. Congratulations. Guys, just don't do this. You ruined Gwent for everyone. And you still lost. So there's a look at a Skelllige rain deck for the new Double Down seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. Let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions we should experiment with next. Although, to be honest, I can't stand this event. I may never play it again, because now we've had this problem for almost a year. But thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.